Leon, who's calling in all the way from Hawaii. We've got my co-hosts Mark and Tom here. Tom is sort of in the background, so you might not see him tonight. But I'm just so honored to have the award-winning David Kamp, the author, the best-selling author, who is here today, calling in from Connecticut, but talking about Sunny Days, the children's television revolution that changed America. And it's just such a great book. It's incredible. There it is. There it is. But I don't know whether you guys know, David's also the author of, there it is. That's the book. It is so good for those people on Facebook. But also, I don't know whether you guys ever heard of The United States of Arugula. That's David's book too, which is an incredible book. So, David, welcome to the Dr. Joe Show. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Dr. Joe, I'm honored to be on with all of you and with Leon and Bernadette as well. It's mind-blowing for me.
Wow.
Thank you,
Dave. That's good. That's all we need. Show's done. That's all. I just needed to hear that from an author like David. David, let's just go right into this book. To tell us a little bit about the premise of the book and what inspired you to write this now?
Well, the book is called Sunny Days, and the premise of the book is simply it's Zoom is one facet of the book. I'm sorry, the book is not entirely about Zoom. The book is about,
all right. Show's over.
But the book is about this cluster of shows that emerged in the late 60s and early 70s, meaning Sesame Street, The Electric Company, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Zoom, and even non-PBS shows like Schoolhouse Rock and Free to Be You and Me. I was a small child when these shows came on, and the more I thought about it, I realized this isn't just a slate of children's programming that happened to run over a period in the 60s and 70s. This actually constituted a social movement. These TV shows were engineered to create social change for the better, to recognize the interior lives of children. And I kind of use this glib phrase in the book, the children's liberation movement. But I think it's kind of true that we had women's lib back then, but to an extent, and I think Leon and Bernadette can get into this, and you too, Dr. Joe, you were liberated from being less, you didn't have to hold your feelings so close. You could be more open in a way that a generation before you couldn't about your own emotional issues, your own racial issues, your own interpersonal issues. So that's the book.
And it is true.
It's very true.
I mean, Leon, you were there. What was that like for you? That was the early 1970s.
Yes, it was. We were able to we were allowed to be free. We were really programmed children by children. And we didn't hold back our feelings and our issues, and we dealt with everything that was pertinent in our lives at that time. And it made me who I am today, the issues and the things that I experienced being there.
Yeah. Bernadette, you and Leon were right in there together in the shows.
We were in that taxi every afternoon that we were driving into Boston. I thought I was irritating you. I had no idea. Because Lori and I would be in the back just wah, 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 wah. But Leon was, he's still my brother. And I never realized how close I could get with peers, because in my school, I was really known as the shy person. So I was very quiet. And at home, I was pretty quiet. So being with Leon and Lori and with Chris and, the production staff, they really helped me to open up a bit more and to come out of my shell. And it was so much fun that I kind of let go of my guard. And every time something would come out of my mouth, everybody would be like, yeah, more, they were encouraging self-expression. And I didn't realize that until the reactions I would get, because usually if I spoke up, I would kind of get a stern look, like you go back down in the in your bedroom, or don't come up until you're asked, from my mother. But yeah, so it changed my life, and it's still a part of me today.
Yeah. David, is this sort of the way it works for you? Is it an author, you do a lot of interviews. So what's it like for you right now being interviewed? So we're interviewing you, David.
Honestly,
we are interviewing you.
It's a pleasure. It's actually a really dangerous ego trip, and you created a monster, Dr. Joe. So beware.
Right.
No, I mean, I know this is a wonderful opportunity, first of all, just to kind of share with the subjects of the book some of the joy of that I took in watching what you are describing as your experiences. And I watched you on television when I was a little kid. In fact, over my left shoulder here, that's me. That's a portrait of me painted by my grandfather when I was of Zoom watching age. It's Bernadette, I know you're trying to look. It's not you can't see it that well, but the point is, like, that version of me over there was watching you guys and learning so much from you. And actually maybe even seeing in real time, Bernadette, the process of you becoming more confident, kind of with the egging on of more extroverted people like Leon. And I think that's part of the value of Zoom. And then just cut to this year, this book comes out, or last year when I'm interviewing you, to learn the behind the scenes stuff. Like, as soon as Leon and Bernadette told me the stories of that taxi ride they took with Lori Boskin to get to the WGBH studios, in my storytelling ear, I think, oh my God, this is gold. Because you see shy Bernadette, extroverted Leon, and fairly confident gymnast Lori, a Black kid, a Chinese American kid, and a white kid, all kind of merging together, thrust together in this weird, progressive TV situation, and yet it worked. And I think, I'm sorry, I'm going to ramble one last beat here, Dr. Joe.
Go.
Just, okay. I know that a lot of people are taking pleasure in the book for its nostalgic value. And I don't disagree with that. I actually applaud that, because I think, especially in weird times like these with a pandemic, if there's comfort to be had in nostalgia, that's wonderful. But the more important thing beyond that is I kind of hope, maybe a little naively, that in reading this book, you see it's a model for a way forward. That we once had something kind of special. We once had shows that promulgated these great ideas and ideals. And maybe by reading this book and hearing your story, Leon, and hearing your story, Bernadette, and hearing your story, Joe, we could, like younger people who read this book, and say, that's how they did it.
Yeah. Especially right now in this age of polarization, where we have so much unrest and political turmoil, which really was the background of Zoom and the TV shows back then. That's the part that was just so amazing about it, is we were living in a place where you weren't really meant to talk with other folks that much. And there's a rift that we're returning if we have not already returned then. So are you hoping that maybe sunny days can be now, not just back then?
Yeah, I mean, the title, obviously is an allusion to the first line of the Sesame Street theme song, Sunny Day, Sweeping the Clouds Away. But it's not accidental that this book is entitled Sunny Days, because it's meant to both be reassuring and evocative of that past era if you get it. But even if you don't get it, it's meant to be a kind of hint that sunny days, it's kind of like John and Yoko used to say, war is over if you want it. Sunny days are here if you want them. And I think we collectively want them. We have to see if there are other people out there who also want them.
I'd like to think that the people who are listening to the Dr. Joe show are ones that want that, and recognize that even the people who don't, they're still doing the best they can. And it's much more interesting to wonder why they don't than to be angry that they don't. And really, that's what I'm hoping your book also does, is encourage that dialogue because there was so much behind the scenes going on, and it's wonderful to read the book because that's what you really describe. Um, but Brenda, was that the experience that you were having back then? That there was, I mean, was that part of this shyness, or was there the cultural sort of overlay with that?
Well, I think some of it was cultural because we moved to a town where there was only one other Asian family there, and and then everybody was white. And we moved there when I was in second grade, and I was still considered the new kid, you know. And I grew up there. I graduated from high school there, um, but I think I was kind of invisible until I gained some confidence because I was just so different looking. And I remember when I was young, I grew up, I was born in New York City. So, and then I was in New Jersey and then came to Weston, Massachusetts. And I remember early in New Jersey, if I saw a little child, a white child, and they saw me or my family, they would start crying because they weren't used to seeing this face, this Asian face. So I knew that I was kind of scary, um, or I felt
Hmm.
that way, you know. And then culturally, yes, there's a generation thing going on too. We respect our elders. My father was just very playful and just wonderful and really fostered my creative side quietly. And we were very active. We were always going skiing or skating. He was always into dancing. And but my mother was really more of a traditional mother and pretty strict. So and she was a professor at Wellesley College. She did very well in life. And she recently passed away. And but I really think that that was a difficult time for me, my relationship with my mother. And she truly loved me, but I also think on top of the culture, she did have, and this is the first time I'm really revealing this, but she did have some mental illness. So I was raised under that, also that umbrella. So it was a cultural thing, also the narcissistic personality disorder. And I've been in therapy since I was 18 years old to try not to replicate that with my children, my daughters, and to try not to injure myself emotionally and mentally, which wasn't always easy. And that's probably why I'm a healer now, because I attract the kind of clients that have gone through similar things that I've gone through, even though they don't know that I've gone through it. This is the first time I'm mentioning it, but it's interesting when you work in this kind of field, you do start to attract the kind of clients that going through what I have processed through most of my life. So being on Zoom exposed me more to a wider audience, but it also exposed me. My world was at Channel 2. Behind the camera, I didn't know who else was there. It was a dark studio. My friends were there. Leon was there. We're playing. They've got the studio all painted, and every week was a different theme. And you'd hear the guys in the control room laughing or yelling, whichever it was. Come on, get them back. Let's do take two, take three. The whole thing was just so much fun and so stimulating, and that became my other family. It was really in my heart. It gave me more confidence, and then at school, I got more attention, which changed everything for me there. And I became more outgoing. But I still have discomfort with that. I was so grateful that David, featured me in the New Yorker article. It was one of the most amazing articles, and I actually cried when I read it because it was very honest. And I don't remember the interview very well because I was taking care of my mom at the time, and everything was just kind of a fog. So when I read it, it was just written with such care and compassion and a lot of authenticity. I'm like, wow, did I really say that? But it was really, whenever I was able to convey to David, he shared what was really deep in my heart. And I got a lot of attention, like Leon said, on social media, and from old friends and present friends who didn't know that I was on Zoom because I really didn't really talk about it much. And it took me about a week to understand the process. I was very uncomfortable with it again. I was getting back into that shy feeling of, oh no, people are paying attention to me. But it was from my childhood of, worrying that that would upset my mother because she didn't like it when I had the attention. and it caused a lot of strife at home when I'd come home from the show. And that's something I never really said much about either. So when this happened again with the article, I just kind of got worried. Oh my God, someone's going to get angry at me. And then I realized this is ridiculous. It's something I have to, I'm learning to heal. And so I'm very grateful to David, and very grateful to my Zoom experience.
I first I really appreciate you sharing these things, and I think that reason that you can share these things is because people like David been able to bring out the trust by being honest and caring, and Leon, being an old friend. But that's really part of what I think Zoom was trying to do as well, was to say it's okay to talk about these things. As a matter of fact, we encourage you to talk about these things, because by talking with other people, you're sharing and you're realizing people aren't going, oh my God, don't tell, you can't talk about that, which only will cause more inhibition.
Right.
And so David, for that alone, I want to thank you for creating an environment where people can truly share what they're experiencing and capturing that this was part of the essence of what was going on in television back then in the 70s, at least for kids.
Yeah, I mean, most of the feedback I've been getting is not so much about the book as people wanting to share their stories of watching Zoom, or in Leon and Bernadette's case, being on Zoom, or of watching Sesame Street, or of watching Free to Be You and Me. People want to share their experiences because it made them feel good to remember how that felt. And I think, again, how do we remake that scenario? That's one of the yields I hope this book gives us. And Leon, I think, is a good example. Leon, you told me that kind of like, well, all of this kind of came from Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, the idea that if we lift up the least fortunate among us, we lift all of us up. And Leon, you told me you were also a Head Start kid, a Head Start program kid too?
Yeah, my life is really interesting sometimes to me. It's like, there are many things that have happened in my life, and I think a lot of it happened because of the opportunity of being on Zoom, the national television show, and lots of people seeing it and being touched by it. I think that the Zoom raps, the Zoom do's, the Zoom guest, it involved the world. It involved the people who watched, the people who not only were part of the program, because I remember even a friend of mine being a Zoom guest one time, and then Donna later on being a Zoomer herself, sending in something that was done. So it was a real social network thing that was really happening at that time period. And, the things that were going on inside the world, being a multicultural, before the word even was known or being used, a multicultural aspect situation, and showing that it can work, as different people from different places and different backgrounds, we can all be here together. I remember us taking off our shoes and being barefoot. It's just a sense of trust, a sense of we're all the same, even though we're different. I know my background totally different from everyone. I'm from the projects. I remember being in line for welfare, getting canned chicken and boxed cheese, to being someone that later in life I found that people like Forrest Whitaker said to me, I'm acting because of you. Okay. Huh? Eddie Vedder dropping down on his knees, And so what we did as innocence and real, you know, it's still who I am. You know, I'm still a Zoomer. Okay. Okay. You know, so I think it was a chance for the world and society to be able to see and be able to want that for them, you know, because I didn't know anything about Chinese until I met Bernadette. Woman, she lu wan shang. What? Come on. When I say that now, Chinese people look at me and go, what? Well, yeah.
Everybody loves Saturday Night, he said in Chinese, because we did that song in different languages. Very good, Leon. Yeah.
It's still with me. Do you understand? This other culture, this other, you know, environment is still embraced by me, who is from the, you know, I'm from the projects, like I said. I used to do all kind of things.
It's almost time for a commercial break. No.
Stretch the kindness, rush with madness. Is it sadness or just a show?